California, just north of the Mexican border, stands the mission of San Diego, built in 1769, the first in the famous chain of 21 missions extending northward for over 500 miles from San Diego to Sonoma. The purpose of these missions was to bring Christian faith and civilization to the savage Indians and provide living accommodations for the weary traveler along the mission trail. The man whose leadership was responsible for the construction of most of these picturesque institutions was Father Junipero Serra, a Franciscan monk. Each mission was placed a day's journey or about 30 miles apart, traveling on foot as the Padres usually traveled. But as we now travel in a comfortable automobile, it averages less than an hour from mission to mission. San Luis Rey, king of the missions, was founded in 1798 and is now under the care of the Franciscan fathers. Over 60,000 cattle roamed its vast land holdings. 3,000 Indians labored in the surrounding fields, and its temporal goods were valued at more than $200,000. The Mission Museum still possesses many valuable relics and priceless mementos of early days in California, as well as the largest collection of old mission vestments in North America. This colorful vestment is about 300 years old, and it is believed to have been worn by Father Perry, who was in charge of San Luis Rey on the day of its founding and for a period of 34 years thereafter. This massive book of illuminated parchment is one of the priceless treasures of San Luis Rey. Here today, aspirants to the Franciscan priesthood still pursue their religious and philosophical studies, as well as the laborious physical chores, which are part of their duties. The modern road which now connects the missions is known as El Camino Real, or the King's Highway, and it follows the old mission trail that was blazed by the sandaled feet of Junipero Serra. San Juan Capistrano is famous for the annual Flight of the Swallows, which incidentally is not confined alone to Capistrano, as practically all of the missions have to contend with the peregrinations of the swallows. This is the grand old mission of San Gabriel, founded in 1771. When the Padres were seeking the site for this mission, they were suddenly surrounded by a band of savages. Fearing an attack, one of the friars unfurled a banner of the Virgin Mary and held it up to the gaze of the Indians, who were so overcome that they threw down their bows and arrows and immediately offered their pipe of peace to the Padres in exchange for the miraculous banner of the Virgin. San Fernando Mission, a few miles north of Los Angeles, is a good example of Spanish architecture. In the early days, more than 1,100 Indians lived at this mission and were patiently guided and taught the labors and crafts of the white men. Mission San Buenaventura was founded on Easter Sunday in 1782 and was, within 10 years of its founding, one of the most flourishing settlements in California. The benevolent old mission at Santa Barbara is a joy to the traveler today, as it must have been when the sandal-footed Padres plodded their weary way along the coast and climbed the hillsides, ever onward that they might reach this haven ere night befell. In order to reach the Indians beyond the coast, the Mission Santa Ynez was founded in a valley, which is one of the most fertile and beautiful spots in California. Since 1804, this old adobe patriarch has graciously watched the coming and going of generations. Regular services are held in the Mission Church for the spiritual comfort of the people who live in the surrounding communities, and the bells of Santa Ynez still ring out their benediction as a tribute to the early Padres who visioned, suffered, and worked to establish happiness, comfort, and beauty in California. In the peaceful monastery garden of Santa Ynez, we meet 3 members of the Capuchin order who endeavored to follow in the footsteps of St. Francis by living a life of strict poverty while serving the cause of humanity to the fullest extent of their ability. Over the hills from Santa Ynez, the Franciscan fathers founded La Purísima Concepcion, which differs from all the other missions in that the entire establishment has been reconstructed. For a number of years, La Purísima was the seat of government for the California missions. We next visit San Luis Obispo. Established in 1772, this mission prospered and became famous because of the fact that here tiles were first manufactured. The Franciscans at San Luis became proficient in this industry, and not long thereafter, all the missions used red tile roofs, a good example of which is San Miguel, standing much as it did over 150 years ago. On July 14th, 1771, Father Junipero Serra established this mission and named it San Antonio in honor of St. Anthony. While addressing the padres who were with him, Father Serra noticed the presence of a pagan Indian who was attracted by the sound of the mission bell. He approached the Indian and gave him some small gifts. From that day on, the natives appeared in crowds to see Father Serra, whose language they did not understand, but whose gentleness had won their hearts. Although most of the original missions have been restored, there are a few that seem to be beyond restoration. And one of these is the mission Nuestra Señora de la Soledad, founded in 1791 as a midway stop between Santa Ynez and Carmel. From the beginning of its history, it has truly been a mission of seclusion and solitude. In interesting contrast to this heap of ruins is San Juan Bautista, one of the real gems of Father Serra's Rosary of Missions. Established in 1797. Perhaps more than any other mission, San Juan illustrates the architectural and engineering skill of the early padres, who taught savage Indians the arts and crafts of old Spain and used them in the construction of these picturesque establishments. Although the mission trail extends itself to Sonoma, just north of San Francisco, our time is limited to one more important landmark, beautifully situated in the valley of Carmel, originally named San Carlos, but more familiarly known as Carmel Mission, founded by Father Serra and used as his headquarters during the time he established the first 9 of the famous 21 missions. He died here in 1784, and his mortal remains were buried beneath this imposing structure, which is in itself a fitting tribute to his memory. In summarizing the life of Junipero Serra, we would say that he was the man who first blazed the trail of Christianity in California, and in doing so, he brought with him the more temporal seeds that were planted in the soil to come forth as the Golden State's first oranges, lemons, figs, olives, and wheat, as well as a variegated abundance of plants and flowers. In his missionary journeys, Father Serra walked over 6,500 miles despite an ulcerated leg. His life and virtues are now being contemplated by the Pope, and it is possible that his justly deserved beatification may soon be announced. And if so, we hope to be the first to revere him as the beloved saint of the Mission Trail.